Hello, everybody. This is Glory. Welcome to Alpha Womb. After a long time, uh, I hope you all are doing well. And today, in in the series of Kali, we'll be speaking about Chinnamastama, and we'll be speaking about a very different aspect to her, which was eventually a revelation to me in her path. What is that? So, uh, as I as you have seen the iconography of Chinnamasta, she has cut her own head, and what she's doing instead is she's holding the head in her own hand. Being the sovereign goddess that she is, she has taken herself to the heights of every desire, and also detached herself once those desires have attained its own apex. And that is where she has cut them from its root. All she's doing is she's holding it in her own hands, meaning she's in full control of the same. Now, this whole out of body controlling of nervous system is what this iconography uh, symbolic of, according to me. And during my path, during my uh, sadhana of understanding this very fascinating deity, I was encountered with many people who were neurodivergent, autistic, neurodivergent, empowered autistic people, empowered neurodivergent people. What do I mean by that? And what did they teach me about this facet of this goddess? Autistic people, if you know, neurodivergent people, if you know, is a spectrum. So let's say if you have met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. If you have met one neurodivergent person, you have met one neurodivergent person. There is no set pattern of behavior. Each one of them will uh, bring something very different to the table. Each one of them is gonna be extremely different uh, in how they come across to the society. And autism neurodivergent spectrum in itself is a nervous system related. It's not a disorder. I would i would never like to use that word, because these are very highly gifted people, and gifted in science. Spiritually we call gifts as siddhis. Now, if you have heard of telepathy tapes of neurodivergent people in the entire spectrum, there is please go and watch the telepathy tapes of neurodivergent or autistic people. It will blow your mind how gifted these individuals can be, and that is very uh, resembling to the goddess Chinnamasta. I say it with extreme firm observation in my path of sadhana, because you know if you if you see how these uh, neurodivergent people, empowered neurodivergent people, tap into information which is humanly impossible for you and me, normal people, to get those insights, very very detailed, meticulous information about, let's say, there is a giraffe uh, in a park near to an house which probably this child or this person has not seen. They will somehow speak of it. They'll get a imagery of it. Now this is all happening because autistic or neurodivergent people have a highly developed or differently developed nervous system than normal individuals. So let's say if normal individuals understand speech, understand reading, uh, understand doing something in a most logical way, these neurodivergent people have a they are also normal in their own way, but they're hyper intelligent. Their nervous system is so far outreached of their own body, which is again uh, nervous system gone outside body experiences. They cannot explain uh, the amount of stimuli that they get in a second's time, which a normal individual gets in the same uh, time. So let's say you are getting five inputs as a normal individual in a second's time. You are seeing the light, you are hearing a voice, you are seeing a table standing in front of you. The same instance will give around 50 inputs to someone with neurodivergent uh, symptoms. That is a gift. That is a spiritual siddhi, is what we say. That is what science calls gifted, because they don't find any logical scientific definition for it. So I urge you all, if you have some interest in learning about this, please go and watch uh, telepathy tapes of autistic people or neurodivergent people. So in the sadhana of Chinnamasta, it does so happens to the sadhakas that they reach a state where their nervous system can give them intels which are very out of body, which they also logically cannot explain how they know what they know. Am I making sense? These things are true. This is not metaphysics. This is now enough scientifically proven that if your nervous systems uh, are greatly developed, science cannot, justify you or box you to behave in a certain way. Like I said, if you meet one neurodivergent person, you have met one neurodivergent person. If you meet one autistic person, you have just met one. There is no set pattern of them behaving in a similar way. They usually are often seen as individuals with very very different way of understanding something, and thereby the sensitivity to external stimulus. Like, there could be someone could be very sensitive to smell, someone could be very sensitive to hearing, the sound, touch. These are these are all bound to happen if your nervous system is greatly developed and nobody is able to put their finger on how do you know, what do you know, and what is going on with you. So, my own personal experience, since a child, I have always had this thing. where I used to get migraines, and these bouts of migraines would just appear to me out of nowhere. But I had sort of managed, after a few years of awareness that this is migraine, that it used to occur to me if I am in a crowded space with lots of people, let's say a mall, let's say a conference, let's say a group of gathering of people where everyone is expected to be excited. Others are behaving. There's a lot of people and their nervous systems. Uh, Along with those people comes their nervous system, thereby is around me. What happens to me is what I've seen is that that evening, or uh, that day, if I spent more than an hour in that space, because if you are going for a conference, if you are going to an event, mm, or a mall or a movie theater, what I've seen is I get really bad migraine attacks once I come back. And this has been a very consistent thing in my life, which I have now recognized. I knew that if I go there, I'll get these things. Mm, but I never had a real understanding why this is happening to me uh, when I go to these places, as if those places are cursed. I have never enjoyed, the aftertaste of going to a conference, the aftertaste of going to a movie, the aftertaste of going to a mall and having a fun time with your friends. I could never have a good aftertaste. It would take me 2 days to heal myself out of the bad migraines. Medicines sometimes work, sometimes don't. And it's not a ailment in me. It never happens very rampantly. It just happens when I go to these places. And now, because I'm aware of it, I avoid myself going to these places. Why is this? Why does this happens to me or any individual? Because when you have a very sensitive nervous system, your nervous system is sort of going outside. It is having an outreach more than others. So imagine, how can that individual explain, who is experiencing this heightened sense of uh, external inputs coming into their own system, so many people, so many inputs are getting registered. It's sort of like, uh, you know there's so much processing that goes on within the mind of the person. Overthinking, just if not overthinking deliberately, your mind is doing its own work because it is used to operating in a certain way. This is what happens when you have a very, very a different nervous system which has its outreach beyond your body. I mean, everybody's nervous system uh, has an outreach beyond your body, which is why, like COVID. How does airborne diseases affect another individual? Because it just comes from one person to another, and because your nervous systems are also connected outwardly, it impacts, you get infected. Similarly, there are other things also that happens, which cannot be defined in boxes of ailments or a problem or something like that. But such experiences are undergone by people who show somewhere in the spectrum of neurodivergent or autism. And more of these things happen when in the path of Chinnamasta. This is what I have seen starkly. I have come across people who post, understanding their own bodies and their own gifts. I would say this is a gift. It is not ADHD. They have empowered themselves to exercise uh, what supernatural abilities that gets blessed upon these neurodivergent individuals because of heightened functioning of nervous systems. And Chinnamasta, if you know, controls the entire nadi system in your body. You don't need yoga, you don't need to do all those yoga positions if you are into Chinnamasta sadhanas, because she controls the three most dominant nadis in your body: Sushumna, Ida, and Pingala. She being Sushumna, the central nervous system. So when a deity controls the central nervous system and the Ida and the Pingala, imagine the kind of self control, uh, nervous system control that this individual must be having, and thereby the gifts that comes with it. So it's almost like these people, neurodivergent people, have a nervous system which is wired to tap into informations which are very otherworldly, which don't come naturally to normal individuals who don't have a healthy nervous system. Everybody is capable of having a healthy nervous system, provided you work upon it yourself, provided you work upon many factors. Now it's all there. Science has gone far and beyond to allow us the impetus to reach to a very healthy functioning nervous system. So once these individual, I mean the neurodivergent individuals or Chinnamasta sadhaks, uh, realize that their nervous system is almost like, so if their body is their nervous system is developed for a 5G Wi-Fi, tapping into that speed of information comes in, right? They cannot possibly explain someone whose nervous system is modulated for a 2G, 3G capacity. They cannot possibly explain what they're undergoing to somebody who is, differently abled. So, if I could make sense. So these are what I have observed, and I wanted to share this. This was a great revelation to me, uh, really great revelation to me, because I kept on observing a lot of things. These individual will say such gifted things because mm, uh, people, if they listen to them, will get baffled. So, for example, I had these very vivid dreams since a very small age. At that point, I had not even started getting into any kind of sadhana. So they say if the goddess is to come into your life, the symptoms will be seen through when Shakti is there. She waits for you to realize that she is a part of you. She is the one for you, you know. So, since a very small age, I had these signs of now, of which now I have the awareness of why I was. having these sort of dreams or experiences or any of such things. I had friends whom I have just I would get a very vivid dream about someone, a friend, let's say, and next day I would just call that friend, or I'll sometimes I get texts from those person asking me the very same thing that I had dreamt of. It used to freak me out initially, but as you as you as this happens very rampantly, it becomes very normal for the individual who is going through it, right? If I start explaining this like I'm explaining to you guys, you might find it like very otherworldly or something which is, oh, god knows what she's saying, but it is true. It happens to some people. I get visions sometimes, you know, let's say, which people say as deja vu, maybe, but I don't know if that is the true definition of it, but it does happens. You have a premonition of something that is going to happen, and that is the realm of Chinnamasta. Chinnamasta is all about signs and symbols. She has chopped her head off. Her Vishuddha chakra, which is, your throat chakra, is she has chopped it off, meaning she has gone beyond this Vak Shakti. The highest form of Vak Shakti is non-verbal communication. Did you know about it? So that is why, my interest in neurodivergent people uh, grew so much more. Animal communicators, neurodivergent, autism, all of these are non-verbal communications. These are the people who deal with the highest form of Vak Shakti, which is magical in its own way, for the lack of more beautiful word. Let's call it the most magical form of communication. It's telepathy, it's clairvoyant, it's clairaudience. Sometimes they also hear something, whisper. These are all spiritual context. We call these as siddhis. So, if you read spiritually, also, people with neurodivergence or the autism spectrum uh, are souls who were not supposed to be born in this realm. It was a mistake. They are the grid characters of. They have a huge purpose to take birth on Earth because, you know, they're having an embodied experience as a human when they were not supposed to be in our realm, which is why you see the abnormalities, perceived abnormalities, which to most I feel it's gifts. So if you meet an empowered neurodivergent person who has learned to integrate their own gifts, who has a great realization of these are my gifts, uh, is a completely different beast altogether. It's You must know how to work with it. I have come across great tarot readers, beautiful, very intuitive tarot readers, because Chinnamasta takes you beyond the worldly realities. What she tells you, or how she communicates with you, is on a very ethereal, utopian symbolism, metaphysics, all of those things. You'll Prakriti will start speaking to you through ways that are unfathomable. But these will also be individual who would get very sensitive around a lot of people, like is the case of neurodivergent autism people. They would have sensitivities to in expressing how they're feeling. They sometimes don't know how to speak. what they're feeling, because all they are feeling is heavy stuff, deep stuff. They can't explain possibly to someone whose words are limited to words, some feelings can never be explained in words. Yeah, it has to be felt. So if you're someone who's more interested in uh, non-verbal gifts, I see it as gift, so I call it as gift. I wouldn't choose to call it differently able or any of those crass words, so these are the people, these are, I feel these are the ganas of Chinnamastama that have come across in my path, that I have I have been blessed, graced by her to know few of these people. Very, very beautiful human beings. If you also know that, if you have ever met or read about neurodivergent or autistic spectrum people, they are the most honest individuals that you will ever come across, because it is also, um, they do not have the capacity to lie, because if they start lying, it is one of the techniques to recognize the therapy, mm, to heal them of perceived deformity that society understands them as, is to be healed. So if they were to behave normal like others, they would, the first indicator of them becoming normal people is them starting to lie. So these are some of the most beautiful individuals that I have come across in my life. I have learned greatly. They were my masters uh, in understanding Devi. And it was Devi's way of telling me that this is how I am. Make sense of me in this way and see them for what they are. See the world through my eyes, through my, beautiful, colorful eyes. More ways than one. Can I define an apple? Then someone else can. That is the beauty and magic of Chinnamasta. And she's very fascinating. I would be very surprised if somebody could box her or define her in one way, just one way, because my uh, me understanding her has been through many, many things. It is not through one spiritual text, it is through different different individuals, a painter's, a colleague having a child who is unable to speak, meeting the child, uh, just so many things. I'll probably speak about it in another video, but I just wanted to put it out that ADHD, neurodivergence, all of this is very, very closely related to Chinnamastama. Or if you ever come across someone like that, please understand they are blessings in our realm. They don't belong to our realm. These individuals do not belong to our realm. And if they have come, they have chosen, their soul has chosen to be here on earth with us, it is because of a very, very lofty purpose, to heal others, to bring love, to pause you on your tracks, on your hustly tracks, to pause you and to make you understand the silence around you, the language of symbols, signs, and nature. That's all for today. Thank you so much. And do let me know how do you like my videos, and drop a comment, share, and I'll be really looking forward to know how you what you make out of my videos, because my effort is for that one individual who was seeking, like me, had so many questions and was seeking and is seeking and has found the answers. That is my efforts in making these videos. Thank you.